Hi, Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns. It seems that a lot of people are preparing for this year's Christmas Ornament Challenge. In fact, I've had many questions about two inside-out turnings. 2-stave, 3-stave, 4-stave, whatever stave. In this video, I'll make a 2-stave inside-out ornament. For me, planning an inside-out ornament is really tough because I have a hard time visualizing how deep to cut, the profile to cut, and the interaction between what would be the inside, the first turning, and the outside, the second turning. So for this video, I decided to use Sketchup. It's a great software tool, free for the non-pro version. And while I don't think I can teach you Sketchup in 2 minutes or less, I can give you a process that you can shoot towards if you are looking to learn SketchUp yourself. So I'll walk you through the design process, and then I'll actually turn this 2-stave inside-out Christmas ornament, preparing for the Christmas Ornament Challenge of 2017.
I started by drawing a board 1 inch by 2 inches by 8 inches long. I made this board a component, then duplicated it while rotating it 180 degrees. I'm using the component feature because any change I make to one component will be reflected in all other instances of that component. After hiding one of the two boards, I edited the other by drawing half circles as if the wood was on the lathe. After extruding semicircles, I then erased lines that would have been cut away if on the lathe. Ideally, I would draw smooth curves, but that is more difficult to draw and extremely difficult to edit. So I'm sticking with 1/4 inch increments and assuming that I would smooth them out on the lathe. I can show and hide the second board to start to see the impact of the wood I'm removing. At this point, if I show both boards, it is as if they have been turned, rotated, and glued back together again. Now, again hiding one board, I'll edit the other from the opposite side from before. This is the exterior turning. Again, I'm drawing semicircles, extruding them, and erasing areas that would be cut away. Now when I expose both boards, I'm starting to visualize how this will turn out. It looks interesting just as it has been drawn. So at this point, I decided to turn the real wood exactly as I've drawn it to see how it turns out. I will not use smooth curves instead of the flats. From the drawing, it looks like it could be interesting and a somewhat blocky abstract turning. Here we go. To prepare the cherry wood, I ran a small bead of glue only down the very end of each board, then clamped them together and let it dry. I wrapped each end with fiber reinforced tape for extra safety. After marking my key transitions, I went to work with a parting tool and sometimes a skew. I'm not winging this turning, instead I'm actually trying to follow my measures. I sanded each portion before moving to the next. I worried about overshooting my marks, so I stayed within center marks until I finished that portion before moving to the next set. With more confidence, I could have cut away to the outer marks to that depth before moving into the next pair, then mark the next deeper portion. Oh well, the little insurance was worth it. With all the sanding finished as I went, I finished the interior section with lacquer, wiping off the excess. At this point, I sawed off 1/2 inch from each end to remove the glue joint, then split the boards apart, rotated them 180 degrees, and glued them together again with white glue in case any oozes out. I let the glue dry overnight. At this point, I am focusing on careful rounding of the wood. At the center, there is less wood and it is easy to cut too deeply. At this point, I just want it round and cut a tenon on the end for mounting to my chuck. After roughing, the wood is about 1.9 inches instead of 2 inches. That's okay. I'll still reduce the diameter in 1/4 inch increments. I'm working one end first, just to be careful, but I'm a bit more brave and extend my cuts more out toward the end. I don't need to remark the distances. I'm using the cut sides from the interior turning as my horizontal guides, but I'm careful to frequently measure the diameter. With this turning being symmetrical top to bottom, I work the other end the same way before sanding it up through all the grits. I normally drill holes in the ends to receive tenons. This time I kept the same theme through the center. The ends of the central portion will be tenons instead of holes, and I could have turned this between centers instead of using a chuck. Then finish the exterior with lacquer, and I have to make sure none of the lacquer globs down into the center turning. Now that's it for the inside out portion. Now for some walnut. First I'll turn a short top finial. This is more difficult to mount to a tenon. I should have drilled the ornament body instead of the finials. I cut a short tenon that I could use in the long nose jaws to drill and finish the top. Next, a reducing spacer between the body and the bottom finial. Again, this would have been easier to mount as a tenon. As is, it will have a hole completely through it, a double mortise. I should have drilled the body when I had the chance. Finally, I'm turning a bottom finial from tropical wood pen blank. Cutting it with a tenon is so much easier. I'm using a small gouge and my skew for this detail work. My lesson learned with this ornament: don't get carried away with the shape of the body of the inside-out ornament. I carried the shape out to the tenons. That would have been much easier as mortises. I had it in the chuck already. It would have been easier to drill then. Actually, I'm the only one that will ever know that I swapped the mortises for tenons. It looks great as a somewhat robotic, angular, inside-out Christmas ornament. It stands out from all the curvy ones. My wife especially likes the bottom inside curves. That's all for this inside out ornament. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and tell your friends. Always wear your full face shield. Goggles are not enough protection. Until next week, this is Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns. Come back next week for a new video, and plan now for the Christmas Ornament Challenge coming up in November. Pretty much the same rules as last year.